Did you watch the Oscars last night? They were full of surprises, but one of the most talked about stories wasn't even part of the show. At 83, Harrison Ford, one of Hollywood's most legendary actors, is facing what could be the hardest chapter of his life. Just last week, his wife, Calista Flockhart, was seen leaving their Los Angeles home with packed bags. Reports suggest that she's been struggling with painful choices as Ford's health appears to be declining. In recent months, he's been having strange memory lapses, forgetting lines, and even showing visible hand tremors during interviews. What's heartbreaking is that the role he was preparing for, a character with Parkinson's disease, might have hit far closer to home than anyone realized. Harrison Ford was born on July 13, 1942, in Chicago, Illinois, while World War II was still raging. His father, John William Ford, who preferred to call himself Christopher, had once dreamed of being an actor but gave up when money became tight. He turned to advertising instead. His mother, Dorothy, was also a radio actress but never found success in her career. The family was a mix of Irish Catholic and Russian Jewish backgrounds, but religion wasn't central to their lives. Ford later said they were raised more liberal than religious. By the time his younger brother Terrence was born in 1945, money was tight. Ford remembered his father coming home exhausted and bitter about his job, which inspired young Harrison to promise himself that he would never live a life trapped in an office. In school, however, Harrison struggled badly. Teachers called him lazy and unmotivated, but he wasn't. He had undiagnosed dyslexia, which made reading and writing extremely difficult. He often felt stupid and misunderstood. Other kids teased him, thinking he was just awkward or slow. To escape, he buried himself in hobbies that didn't require words, like building model trains, tinkering with electronics, and fixing small machines. He liked creating things with his hands, something that would define much of his early adult life. In high school, the one place he felt comfortable was in the school's new radio station. He became its first voice and later worked as a sports announcer. It was his first real experience performing for an audience. Still, he remained shy and unsure of himself. After graduation, he went to Ripon College in Wisconsin in 1960 to study philosophy. He joined a fraternity but didn't fit in easily. For 3 years, he avoided performing of any kind, until, in his final semester, he decided to take a drama class just to overcome his fear of public speaking. That one choice changed his life. Acting sparked something deep inside him. For the first time, he felt free. But his grades didn't improve, and just before graduation, he was caught plagiarizing a paper and expelled. Instead of feeling ashamed, he felt liberated. Right after leaving college, Ford joined a small summer theater group called the Belfry Players. He began to see acting as a possible career. But the path wasn't smooth. In his childhood, he had a traumatic experience, nearly drowning in a swimming pool at age 10, and that fear of water stayed with him for years. He refused to do swimming scenes in movies until much later in life. Ironically, during the filming of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, he ended up teaching his young co-star how to swim, determined that no one else should live with the fear he once had. In 1964, Ford married Mary Marquardt, a college sweetheart who had always supported him. They packed their belongings, drove to Los Angeles with $300, and chased his dream. Ford signed a small contract with Columbia Pictures that paid $150 a week, but studio executives didn't believe in him. They said his name was too fancy, his acting was too stiff, and his presence too boring. One executive even told him to get a haircut like Elvis Presley. Ford refused and was soon dropped from his contract. With no work and little money, Ford became a self-taught carpenter. He checked out library books to learn woodworking and began taking small repair jobs. His big break came when musician Sergio Mendes asked him to build a recording studio. Though Ford had never built one before, he figured it out by reading and experimenting. His professionalism and calm attitude impressed Mendes, who recommended him to friends. Before long, Ford was building furniture in studios for major figures like Francis Ford Coppola, Joan Didion, and Richard Dreyfuss. By this time, Ford and Mary had 2 sons, Benjamin and Willard, but they were struggling. Ford's acting career seemed finished. He auditioned for The Graduate but didn't get the part. He worked 12-hour days building cabinets and furniture to keep food on the table. But everything changed in 1973 when George Lucas cast him in American Graffiti for $500. During that small job, Ford had asked Lucas for $15 extra per week to make up for lost carpentry income, and that boldness stuck in Lucas's memory. 2 years later, in 1975, Ford was building cabinets for Coppola's studio when Lucas came by to hold auditions for a new space adventure film. Lucas asked Ford to read lines with actors auditioning for roles. Ford wasn't trying out, but when Lucas heard him, he saw something special, a mix of confidence and humor. That's how Ford became Han Solo in Star Wars. The movie turned him into an international star overnight. Star Wars also brought secret heartbreak. During filming, Ford began an affair with 19-year-old Carrie Fisher. He was 33 and still married with 2 children. The relationship lasted 3 months and remained hidden until Fisher revealed it in her 2016 memoir. Ford, when asked about it later, said little, only that he knew she was going to write about it but never read the book. After Star Wars, Ford became one of the biggest action stars in the world, starring in Indiana Jones, Blade Runner, The Fugitive, and Air Force One. He was known for doing his own dangerous stunts. During Raiders of the Lost Ark, when he got food poisoning in Tunisia, he improvised the now iconic scene where Indiana Jones shoots a swordsman instead of fighting him. In Temple of Doom, he injured his spine and needed emergency surgery but still returned to filming. His dedication brought success but strained his personal life. His marriage to Mary ended in 1979 after years of stress and his growing fame. In 1983, he married screenwriter Melissa Matheson, who wrote E.T. and the Black Stallion. They had 2 children together, Malcolm and Georgia. For a time, their marriage was peaceful, but by 2000 they had quietly separated. Their 2004 divorce was one of Hollywood's costliest. Melissa received between $85 and $118 million since they had no prenup. She even continued receiving royalties from Ford's major films. Even after all the success, Ford stayed humble and practical. He kept his carpentry skills, sometimes building furniture for his own homes. He also developed a passion for flying. But that love led to several terrifying crashes, in 1999, 2015, and 2017. The 2015 crash was nearly fatal. At 72, his plane's engine failed shortly after takeoff. He crash-landed on a golf course, breaking his pelvis and ankle and suffering a head injury. Witnesses said his quick thinking saved lives by avoiding nearby homes. Despite his injuries, Ford's determination never faded. Just months after the crash, he returned to filming Star Wars: The Force Awakens. But tragedy struck again when a hydraulic door on the Millennium Falcon set malfunctioned, crushing his leg. Production had to shut down for weeks while he recovered. In 2002, Ford met Calista Flockhart at the Golden Globes after she accidentally spilled wine on him. That awkward moment sparked a romance. Many doubted their 22-year age gap, but they proved the critics wrong. They adopted her son Liam together, and in 2009 Ford proposed. They married in 2010 during the filming of Cowboys and Aliens. Through every crash and injury, Calista stayed by his side. In recent years, Ford has spoken about his regrets as a father. During his busiest decades, he missed much of his older son's childhoods. He has said that raising Liam in his later years made him realize what he had missed the first time. In interviews, he described himself as a better father now and said he'd take a bullet for any of my kids. Even in his late 70s, Ford continued acting. In 2021, while filming Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny in London, he injured his shoulder during a fight rehearsal but pushed through the pain to finish the movie. Then, in early 2025, just before the Oscars, Ford fell ill with shingles. At 82, the virus hit him hard, forcing him to cancel his planned appearance as a presenter. His wife stayed by his side as he recovered at home. That same year, Ford achieved something new. For the first time in his career, he was nominated for an Emmy, for his performance in the Apple TV Plus series Shrinking, where he played Dr. Paul Rhodes, a therapist living with early-stage Parkinson's disease. Ford's performance was emotional and deeply human. To prepare, he spent time talking to Michael J. Fox, who's lived with Parkinson's for decades. His portrayal earned widespread praise for its honesty and vulnerability. Now, at 83, Harrison Ford has lived through more than 6 decades of fame, success, danger, and loss. He survived multiple crashes, career failures, heartbreak, and reinvention. Yet, through it all, he's remained one of the most respected and beloved actors of his generation. But as reports about his health grow more serious and his wife faces heartbreaking choices, fans are realizing that even Hollywood's toughest hero is still human, and that the man who spent a lifetime playing fearless characters may now be facing his most personal battle yet.